could all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Village Board of Washingtonville regular meeting. Today is Tuesday, November 16th. It is at the end of, if you need an agenda, they're on the table. At the end of the agenda, we do have comments on agenda items and comments on non-agenda items. A few announcements. On behalf of the Village of Washingtonville, I want to give special thanks to Colleen Doyle and all the scout leaders, including village trustee Lisa Sampson, thank you, for their planning of an outstanding 4th annual Walk for Heroes. It was held on this past Saturday. Thank you to all. A special thank you to all the daisies, the brownies, the junior cadets and senior scouts for all their hard work and dedication. Thank you to the Blooming Grove Police Department as well as the Blooming Grove Volunteer Ambulance. On Friday, November 26th at 12 p.m. at El Shaddai Christian Church, they will be offering a free warm meal to dine in or take out. I want to thank Pastor Minor Martinez for this. If you need any additional information, please feel free to contact Pastor Minor at esccoc.org. Remember, there's no overnight parking on village streets from the hours of 1 a.m. to 5 a.m. Hanukkah starts on Monday, November 29th. I will be reaching out to residents to take part in the lighting of the menorah that will be placed at the village square. On December 4th, Whoville will be at Vern Allen, starting at 11 a.m. Following Whoville, the Blooming Grove Chamber of Commerce, along with the Village of Washingtonville, will be hosting the 10th annual Christmas parade, ending in the center of the village for the lighting of the Christmas tree and the appearance of Santa Claus. On Thanksgiving Day, Washingtonville Wizards Turkey Trot will be held at the Washingtonville High School. Registration begins at 8:15. Race starts at 9:01. It's a try.
I'm gonna chop my way to the table.
Yeah, I'm gonna. They allow walkers, I believe.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Just point of reference, it's the 11th parade. I know you have 10th, but it is the 11th parade.
It's the 11th.
Yes.
I'm sorry, the 11th annual Christmas parade. Thank you. We have new business 3A, sign approval for Levon, Inspiration Flowers and Events, signage. This came into the building department Friday? Thursday last week?
And I think this is the second one.
Yes. So I don't know. It's a little bit longer. It's 60 inches by 18 inches high.
Is there a
I believe-
code for these?
Yes.
There's a square footage, it's within that square
It's
footage.
within
Yeah,
the-
it's within that, and I believe it's the same size as
What was that?
size, right, and then either side of it.
And I believe according to the building department, all the permits fees will be paid. I'll make a motion to approve it as presented.
Second?
I'll second.
Roll call, Rich Kolar?
Yes.
Trustee Kolar, sorry. Trustee Sampson?
Yes.
Trustee Kolar?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Lovato?
Yes.
The second order of business is sign approval for Washingtonville Nail Spa. Little brief history of this All work was done in this nail spa prior to receiving any permits. The permits have been taken care of since then, including the sign. The sign was put up without approval of this board. Just want to let you know that.
Any fines involved, or?
I have to talk to John on that. To my knowledge, there hasn't been any yet. Now, this is in the location of where Verizon was located.
It's also within the code.
The size of it, yeah.
The size is, yes.
Is it something it doesn't?
I assume that's not lime green, right?
It's yellow.
It's yellow.
Okay. Oh, that's right.
It's probably the printer that makes it look.
I'm not crazy about the sign itself. If someone wants to make a motion.
Has this place open?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Do you want it changed?
Are they open to changing it?
Well, we don't approve it then.
I think if they would've come in, like,
Before, yeah.
like this other flowers events has done, they wouldn't have spent the money putting the sign up.
So can we table it until we have discussion?
Yeah, I think, I should do that. I said, motion.
So we just sign up and do it.
Oh. If they're fine, the building inspector should follow up on whether there should be fines for not doing what they should be doing, or permits for the sign, or whatever. I'm not sure what the rules are. But there should have been something.
Can you speak louder, please?
Yes.
Okay, I'll talk to John in one. So we are tabling 3B. We have a few minutes before we get into the public hearings on cannabis, so we could continue with 3E, revised public assembly permit form. Deputy Lodato?
Everybody has in their packet the application for a public assembly permit. I don't know if anyone knows what the old one, the current one looks like. It's about 5 pages long and requires a lot of information that most people don't fill out, or it's just not pertinent to a public assembly. And I looked at various municipalities and compiled what I thought was the most crucial information for this. After collecting information for different events, you kind of see what's really needed for them and what's not. So I wanted to ask if anyone thought information should be added to it or taken off. Do you have any recommendations?
So no less than 4 weeks, that's standard.
That was what we had on our original, again, we could change that.
I have a question. The part where it says, assistance from village police, do we want to ask, like, do we charge for that? Or should we charge for that? And if so, do we add it to the permit? For outside agencies or whoever you want to set it up, but we've never charged for police.
No.
It's usually within the village.
Yeah.
Right. Or do you want to say there's no charge for police for businesses or residents that reside in the village, but for external agencies, or there will be a $1,500, whatever, fee? It's just a thought.
So far, we haven't had anyone,
No
you know,
information.
outside.
Not
using-
yet, but it's coming, trust
Do you
me.
think so?
I know.
Why, because you said that?
I mean, it's a great facility. I told you, it was cold here, so. So ordered.
Is there a fee for the application?
No fee, right?
No fee, right?
No fee.
Okay.
That's something to think about if we wanna like, if there's anyone who ever get our tax dollars back
Yeah,
for non-school district residents or village residents, however you wanna do it.
so I'm trying to think what would be
But
applicable to something
like it has, will an admission fee be charged? So if they're charging to come to the park or parks,
Yeah, but then look at the next question, because that's, is it being used for donations?
you need assistance
Wait,
from
this
the village. If it's requiring overtime, geez,
Just to touch on what trustee Sampson said, some municipalities are starting to charge for, like, I'm just gonna use this as an example, hot chocolate. We put 5, 6 cops on.
Right?
I do give you the monthly report, sometimes what the cost is. I'm not saying every municipality does it, but they're starting, that's the new trend. You wanna come and do this, it's gonna cost X, Y, Z. Obviously, if it's a village or town sponsored event, it'd be different, but fundraisers, like the food pantry does a fundraiser, we put extra people on,
And it's cost the village, so we can,
but it's just something that, obviously, everything's there to raise money, so it's kinda hard to say, it's gonna cost you $500 for the police, so much for DPW, but I would ask just to include on there, if it's not already, special permits from state DOT, anything like that. We have to start, 2022, we have to start getting permits. I know we touched on it a few weeks ago, but it is a law, it's required, and I was gonna approach the board probably in December and say, let's make sure this is now done for everything, so, we're just making sure everybody's following the right procedure. And I don't know how long that takes, and as you know, we work with DOT often. If you request a special permit to close a road for something, it's not gonna be in a couple weeks, it's gonna take, I would imagine, a few months. They're gonna want mapping, signage up there, things like that we haven't always done, but they're gonna want that in the permit, that we have detour signs, adequate road closure signs, barricades, things like that.
do they have a checklist right now, the state, or?
I've reached
We can-
out, I'm sure they have something, but maybe we can include that on the public assembly permit. Does a permit, does a state DOT permit required for this event? And that's, my understanding, anything more than 20 minutes closing a state road down.
I would piggyback on that. I would say if it's not a village event, we definitely be charged. So if an outside organization wants to, say, March
Right.
94, we have to do all this work.
Well, much anyway.
Yeah.
Last year we had to, if it wasn't a fundraiser, then I think we have to, if it's a fundraiser, it's just contradicting what they're trying to do, which I don't think would be in anyone's best interest. All right, so we'll just table this then for,
Okay. And then fundraiser, would it be fundraiser for a not-for-profit? Because we can have a fundraiser for Luis's shoe fund, LSF. You know what I mean? So a fundraiser for a recognized not-for-profit entity.
Yeah.
Because I'll fundraise for LSF.
okay.
Yes.
Thank you for sharing that with us.
Elena, wait,
What I was also thinking is on the maximum number of people expected, we can change that to a number where if the maximum should not exceed, let's say 200 people. After that, then there could be, get the police involved or figure out what to do with something like that. But, if it's under a certain amount of people, it should be okay, but maybe have that maximum number listed there.
So we're going to table this until the work session, December, what's your work session?
Seven? Seven is important, right?
6th.
6.
Okay, it is 7:15. Public hearing on the cannabis. Local law adopted pursuant to cannabis law 131, opting out of licensing and establishing adult use cannabis retail dispensaries, and on-site cannabis consumption establishments within the Village of Washingtonville. Be it enacted by the Board of Trustees of the Village of Washingtonville, County of Orange, State of New York, as follows. Section 1, legislative intent. It is the intent of this local law to opt the Village of Washingtonville out of hosting adult-use cannabis retail dispensaries and on-site cannabis consumption establishments within its borders. Section 2, the authority. The local law is adopted pursuant to Cannabis Law 131, which expressly authorizes cities and villages to opt out and allowing retail cannabis dispensaries and/or on-site cannabis consumption establishments to locate and operate within their boundaries. Section 3, local cannabis retail dispensaries and cannabis on-site consumption opt-out. The Board of Trustees of the Village of Washingtonville, County of Orange, hereby opts out of allowing cannabis retail dispensaries and on-site cannabis consumption establishments from locating and operating within the boundaries of the Village of Washingtonville. Section 4, severability. If a court determines that any clause, sentence, paragraph, subdivision, or part of this local law or application thereof to any person, firm, or corporation or circumstance is invalid or unconstitutional, the court's order of judgment shall not affect, impair, or inviolate the remainder of this law, but shall be confined in its operation to the clause, sentence, paragraph, subdivision, or part of this local law, or in its application to the person, individual, firm, or corporation, or circumstance directly involved in the controversy in which such judgment or order shall be rendered. Section 5, repeal. All ordinances, local law, and parts thereof inconsistent with the local law are hereby repealed. Section 6, effective date. The local law shall take effect immediately upon filing with the Secretary of State pursuant to the Cannabis Law 131. This local law is subject to commission referendum and thus may be filed with the Secretary of State until the applicable time period has elapsed to file a petition or referendum has been conducted approving this local law.
Questions?
Yes?
Oh, I'll ask one. Has anybody here visited a dispensary?
No.
On board, no. It would probably be a good idea if you did, because they're very thorough in your background checks and everything else. What you're doing is knocking down is good, because once you're down, you can get in if you want. But my question is, what about medical marijuana?
Does that come from a dispensary or does
That's a
that come from?
dispensary, and
Dispensary.
they are in the county already.
From up in Newburgh.
Just not in the Village of Washingtonville. I believe Blooming Grove has the same thing in the town, that there's no dispensaries allowed.
And that includes medical, what if the drugstore was selling medical marijuana? But it is gonna be legalized that way eventually.
Yeah, so they could travel to go get it. As far as, this is me talking now, I don't know how the board feels on this, but.
We probably all feel the same, you voted it down, which is, once you vote it down, if at some point you wanna vote it in, you can. But if you go to a dispensary and check it out, you'll find out it's not what you think it is. This places where you smoke it, I don't know what they're about, but dispensaries are very,
It could be.
very thorough.
Yeah,
You have to show your license, you're only allowed a certain amount. They're very rigid. So it would be a good idea to go look at one. You don't have to buy, they'll let you in,
There was one that was given away.
whatever in the city.
It's on the news, it was on radio. Explain that to your kids, that was an interesting conversation.
any other comments?
Susan Wolski, 24 South Street, Washingtonville. And I understand why the village created this law pursuant to New York state law that permits villages and municipalities for opting out. This law does not cover the manufacturing, warehousing, or distribution centers. And has this board considered those items? And also growth, because we still have some farm space within the village that could potentially turn into cannabis farms.
I'm assuming that we can add to this to take care of the concerns that you just spoke about, brought up. But right now, if we were, I think our thought was a dispensary would be within a stone's throw of the school.
Correct.
And that really it got everyone's attention.
And it's my understanding, I'm not an attorney, but from what I understand of the state law, it created the opportunity for dispensaries for recreational use. And I understand the village's position on limiting that, especially, like you said, within 500 feet of schools.
Anyone else?
Can you write me the note to go check out the dispensary, because I need permission?
I'm not a doctor or a teacher.
Or I'm taking a police officer with me.
You know where
I'm here for my job, honestly, I am.
do you know where the Alexis Diner is in Newburgh? Next to there is a medical dispensary.
That you need a medical card to go into.
Yeah.
Yes, it used to be a restaurant.
No, I think, yeah, is that the one? I think Burger King or something was there or something.
Guess
I
it's
think it's
not
in
much-
between, Burger King is still there.
What?
Yeah.
Burger King is
Still
still
there.
there. That empty building returned to be another restaurant. I think it's in that little strip mall in between, around that Alexis Diner.
Yeah, I see it up there.
There's not much money in hamburgers anymore.
I don't know, I go there all the time.
Pretty soon we're not gonna be able
You
to
get the munchies.
eat meat anyway.
There you go, Burger King's got good business. I can just see it now, me walking into the dispensary and someone with a picture, and that, put on social
Yeah,
media.
but there's a difference between a medical dispensary and a recreational
Yes.
facility. It's like PA has the smoke shops. You can go get cigarettes. Basically, New York State has said the same thing regarding cannabis.
Okay.
We have to close the meeting and vote.
We do have to close the public hearing. And any other questions? Comments? Okay, let's make a motion to close the public hearing on introductory local law number 6 for the year 2021. Need a motion to close the public hearing?
Make a motion.
Second?
I'll second.
Roll call, trustee Ford,
This is just to close the meeting, or?
just to close it.
Yes.
Trustee Sampson?
Yes.
Trustee Kolar? Deputy Mayor Madado?
Yes.
Need a motion to carry the local law number 6, adopt the local law number 6.
I'll make the motion.
Second?
I'll second.
Will trustee Kolar,
Yes.
trustee Sampson?
Yes.
Trustee Kolar?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Madado?
Yes.
And Mayor Buck. Yes. So local law number 6, the year 2021 passes 5-0. And we have another minute for local law number 7. You can get up and just stretch, and then you have a minute,
Talk amongst yourselves.
Actually, it's now 7:25.
okay? Hope you all stretch out, very good. The Village of Washingtonville, like to open up a public hearing for introductory local law number 7 of 2021. A local law amending certain sections of Chapter 297 of the Village of Washingtonville Code related to fire hydrants and penalties, being enacted by the Board of Trustees of the Village of Washingtonville, County of Orange, State of New York, as follows. Section 1. Title: This local law shall be referred to as local law amending certain sections of Chapter 297 of the Village of Washingtonville Code related to fire hydrants and penalties. Section 2, Legislative Intent. The Board of Trustees of the Village of Washingtonville are further protecting the health, safety, and general welfare of the public by enacting the below revised changes to its regulations regarding the use of fire hydrants. It is a public health and safety issue to have unauthorized uses of the village fire hydrants, and as such, within revisions become necessary to protect the public. The amendments, Section 3. Section 297-19 of the Village of Washingtonville Code is hereby repealed and replaced with the following. Fire hydrants are provided for the primary purpose of furnishing water for extinguishing fires and are to be used by the village fire departments, districts, Department of Public Works, and/or village authorized water operators. It's also used for flushing of water mains. B, any other person or persons who shall open or use any fire hydrant for any purpose whatever without written permit for the purpose shall pay a penalty as set forth in 297-28 for each offense. Section 297-28 of the Village of Washingtonville Code is hereby repealed and replaced with the following. Any person or persons violating any of the rules, regulations, and requirements governing the introduction, supply, and consumption of water for which no penalty has otherwise been provided for the distinct violation shall, upon conviction, forfeit and pay the penalty for such violation, a sum not to exceed $2,500 for each offense, and be subject to imprisonment of not more than 20 days or both. B, whenever any person or persons have incurred any fine or penalty under the provisions of these rules, regulations, and requirements, it shall be held to mean that the sum designated, together with the cost of prosecution, and the penalties and fines herein referred to shall be in addition to any civil remedy which the Village of Washingtonville, New York, might have in action of law against the party or parties offended. Section 4, Severability. In any part or provision of this local law or the application thereof, any person or circumstance be adjudged invalid by any court or competent jurisdiction, such judgments shall be confined in its operation to the part of provision or application directly involved in the controversy in which such judgment shall have been rendered, and shall not affect or impair the validity of the remainder of this local law, and the application thereof to any persons or circumstances, and the Board of Trustees of the Village of Washingtonville hereby declares that it would have passed this local law or the remainder thereof had such invalid application or invalid provision been apparent. Section 5, Repeal. All ordinances, local law, and parts thereof inconsistent with this local law are hereby repealed. Effective date, the local law shall take effect immediately upon filing in the office of the New York Secretary of State in accordance with Section 27 of the Municipal Home Rule Law. Comments? Yes?
Although I'd like to think this doesn't happen, I'm sure there have been incidents throughout the village where people have turned them on and they're not supposed to. Considering that water is such a precious commodity, can't there be added severity for repeat offenders?
I checked with the attorney, the $2,500, the $2,500, but more so the 20 days is the maximum that we could.
On a first offense, on a second offense?
I don't know, but we could again add to this also.
So, because if somebody did it once and got a slap, they may be,
No, you know, right now our code says $250.
oh, and I
It costs
know,
more to fill a pool, okay, if you had an outside water company in here. So $2,500 in 20 days, and we would ask for both, okay? I think it's our way of saying, keep your hands off the fire hydrants. They don't belong to you, they belong to the village of Washingtonville. DPW, fire department, and in this case, JCO or water operators.
No, and I agree. Like I said, water's a precious commodity, and it should not be somebody's personal luxury, but it's meant for everybody in the village.
Any other questions, concerns, comments? Yes?
Whole line, 10 paper lane, I think you gotta amend the users, it would, because I know the DPW would turn them on, but it would eliminate car washes that are normally done, if you read the list of users that you have.
Right now, our car washes are being scheduled at Memorial Park,
Yeah, I know.
using the well house. So under no circumstances will we should be drawing water from fire hydrants for car washes. Okay, if there's no other comments, we have comments from the board?
I have a question. I just want to find exactly where it says it. You know, where it talks about who is authorized to use it?
Yes.
Can we say specifically while on duty? Do you know what I mean?
Okay, understood.
So, okay, I'm gonna use it. I work for the fire department, I volunteer with the fire department, but I'm not, you know what I mean? I just wanna use it, just because I want. I'm with the fire department, but you didn't say while
It's
on
happened
duty,
before.
right?
It says for extinguishing fires by the fire department.
Okay, so I had a barbecue next to whatever I was in my backyard, there was a fire, extinguished the fire. You know, people play semantics. So while in the course of doing business.
I agree.
Yeah, okay. We could add to this. How do you want it worded? Well on duty?
Yeah, while on duty or during the course of business or however, you know what I mean? While on shift, or
While on duty.
while on official business.
Course of business.
I was just gonna say, the official business is a good idea, but probably then encompass everybody that is like JCO and everybody else as well,
Mhm.
just to tighten it so that they,
Yeah, well, we have here.
because everybody
village
walks
fire
around with a
departments,
hydrant wrench, you know, so you gotta be careful.
Or districts, Department of Public Works, and/or village authorized water operators.
In the,
Well conducted, while on duty, course of official business.
There you go.
on page 2, on the bottom, where it says A, on the bottom A, the offense says offense or be subject to imprisonment. Is it gonna be